Maker, that mom with a laser here, and I think it's time I finally do an updated tutorial on how I make my round monogram signs. You know, these. It's been a year now since I started my laser business, and these round monogram signs have by far been my most consistent best-selling item. However, they're very detailed and can be time-consuming. So over the course of the year, I've come up with different ways that I can expedite production and make these beautiful signs as efficiently as I can. So today I'm going to attempt to show you my entire process from beginning to end and hope that I answer all of your questions. You ready? Let's go.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I need to go ahead and sand and stain and prep my rounds. I have a few that I did a few weeks ago. This is with Minwax Classic Gray stain, but today I'm going to try Weather Wash again. Their rusted color. This is a water-based stain right here. I have a tutorial on how to use this. I'll link it in the description box below. Oops, I almost forgot to mention, I get these at Home Depot. This is the 18-inch and this is the 24-inch. So if you're curious, that's where I get mine. There's a bunch of different places, but Home Depot is just down the street from me, so I like what's nice and easy. All right, let's get to it. While my round dries, I'm going to go ahead and sand down 1/8 of an inch birch plywood. This is what I'm going to use to cut out my letters. I'm sanding with 220 grit, and once they're ready, I'll go ahead and paint them. Nothing fancy here. I'm just going to put on some gloves and use a foam roller and paint with Waverly chalk paint that I get from Walmart. So I'm going to paint on 2 coats, and I will gently sand in between coats. I find that a foam roller gives me a nice smooth finish, and it's the fastest way to get the job done. Once I'm done, I'll put the foam roller in a Ziploc bag, and that'll help me stretch out the life of the roller. Then I'll let it dry. Okay, so while my piece is dry, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my artwork. I'm going to design this in Lightburn, but keep in mind that you can do this in any software, whether it's Silhouette Studio, Inkscape, Illustrator, whatever. Every function I'm going to use here can be used in any of those softwares. First, I'm going to create a circle and size it to 24 inches. Now I'll make the monogram with Times New Roman font, and I don't have a size that I use for this, I just kind of eyeball it. Then I select everything and make sure that everything is horizontally and vertically aligned. Now I'll write the words that are going to go at the top and bottom of the sign. I typically like to change this font to Callisto MT because I find that it's similar to Times New Roman, but thick enough that I don't have to offset it and it won't break when I cut it later. Then I'll select the blue dot on my text and curve it to the circle. Now I need to slice the last name through the center monogram. This is also known as the knockout method. To do this, I'm going to write out the last name, and then I'm going to hover it over the center monogram and size it so that it looks proportionate. At this point, you'll most likely want to offset your font, which means you're going to thicken it so that it doesn't break when you cut it. You'll notice here that when I did the offset, I lost the center to my D, so I'm just going to create an oval and replace it. Then I'll have to group the name with the little oval I just created so that it's one piece. Once you have it the way you like it, duplicate the last name and set it aside. Now we're going to slice the name through the monogram. To do that, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select the monogram. While continuing to hold the Shift key, I'm also going to select the last name. Then I'll use the Boolean subtract one shape from another feature, and voila! My name fits beautifully through my S. Bear with me, we're almost done here. I just want to show you how I create my cardboard template and how I nest everything so that I can save material. I don't want to mess with my original just in case I need to go back and get something, so I'm going to duplicate it and work off of the copy. First, I'm going to create my cardboard template, so I'm going to move the S and the name out of the way. To make my cardboard template, I'm just going to take a rectangle and hover it over the bottom edge of my letters on my circle. Then, I'll use the same method that I just used. I will select both of my shapes and use the Boolean subtract one shape from another tool. Once you do this, you'll have to ungroup the 2 half circles. Then, I'll create another circle, hover it underneath the names, and use the same function again, subtract one shape from another. I'll do the same thing on the bottom with the established date and just use a rectangle. Then I will flip over my EST. This way I can nest it together and cut it on my cardboard. The last thing I need to do is nest all of my little letters together. To save time, I've decided that I want to cut these letters using 3M that I'm going to stick to the back of my painted wood. The sheets that I have are 8 by 11, so I need to make sure that I fit all of my letters within those dimensions. So back in Lightburn, I'm going to create a rectangle that's to the dimensions of my 3M double-sided adhesive. Then I will take my words and do my best to make them fit within that rectangle. So you'll see here, I duplicate my words and then I position them within my rectangle, delete the excess, and repeat. Lastly, I'll nest my monogram, and now everything is digitally prepped for cutting. Since my boards are dry, I'm going to cover them with some masking tape and press it down using a squeegee. That's the most important part if you're using masking tape, otherwise it could be a fire hazard, so make sure you use a squeegee. And now it's time to cut. To help me keep track of my letters, I like to pick them up using painter's tape. This helps me save time and keep things organized. This is what I do with everything once it's been cut, because I cut everything 2 days ago, and in the beginning I didn't have a system and all of my pieces would get confused and it would take forever trying to figure it out, and it was just such a time waster. So I found these at Target in the dollar section. They usually have them on sale during back to school time. And I put it in order by family. So this is one order, this is another order, and this is another order. So now it's nice and organized, and today I'm just gonna go ahead and glue everything together. Let's get to it. Okay, makers, so this is dry, my pieces are cut, and it's time to glue everything down. Now, the old way I used to do this is I created this little circle template, and I would tape it down here, and then I would take my letters and I would place them by hand, you know, where I think they should go. And I would do that with every name on the piece. And I would use this edge to make sure that I was getting everything perfectly straight, at least along the top edge. Just like that. Then I would take my glue, use a little squeeze bottle, and then very carefully apply glue to each letter and then glue each one down. So you can see how that would take a lot of time. But that's how I did it. And now I've learned how to expedite the process by using this cardboard template. So instead of doing that, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down my template. And if you want to make sure that you have everything nice and centered, sometimes I like to take a picture from above, and then I look at the picture on my phone and I can see, okay, that looks pretty straight. And another thing to keep in mind when you're lining everything up, you want to kind of think about the grain of your wood. See how here, if I just laid it flat down and my grain's going that way, I mean, it may not be a big deal for some people, but I don't like how that looks. I think it's going to be a little more uniform if I'm going with the grain of the wood. So that's just how I like to do it. So now I'm going to tape this down, and then I will go ahead and remove the 3M and just stick my pieces in and then lift it off. And that should make it go a lot faster. The only thing that I didn't put 3M on was the name and the monogram, only because you can see how that would be a lot of 3M and that would be very wasteful, and I don't like to be wasteful. So I will take my pieces here, line them up, probably do my camera trick from above to make sure that I get my monogram nice and straight, and then I'll get to gluing. You might have your glue do this. If that's the case, I do one of two things. I will take some water, just a little bit, and a paintbrush, and I'll clean it up. Easy to do. Or if it's dried and I can't get it up, I will take like just a sewing needle and I will scrape it off. But as you can see here, I don't really need to do that because it's still kind of wet. You could also stick this in a mechanical pencil and you could probably maneuver it a little better, but this has been a lifesaver sometimes when I've got little bits that I need to just scrape off. Okay, so I timed it and it took me about 15 minutes, give or take, to glue the letters, the monogram, and the name, so that's a record. And now I am taking my Gorilla Tape and I've already started peeling off the masking tape that's on my letters because I like to wait until the very end to keep everything as clean as I can. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish taking off all of this masking tape, and you can see it's going pretty fast. And then once everything is dried and I can move it around, I will go ahead and seal it, and then I'll be done. I almost forgot to talk to you guys about hardware. So I use what's called a D-ring. It's a screw with a little ring here, and you can provide it to your customer in a little baggie like this, or you can add it on if you prefer. I'm going to show you guys how I do it. I don't know if there's a better system, but I basically just use a ruler and I measure out how far I want it in. This is 5 inches in on each side, and then I'll measure this way to make sure that it's about the same distance down this way also. That's 6 3/4 here, 6 3/4, so I'm good. So as you can see, I've already marked them, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and line up my little D-ring and drill it in.
Well, maker, that's it for today. Whether you end up making this for yourself or actually selling them, I hope what you learned here today brings you prosperity and growth. I've got more that I've got to finish, so I'm going to head out. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys here soon over at That Mom with a Laser.